Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Coffee and Football presented by Vaughn Lane. I'm your host, Blake Monroe, where I'm joined each and every day by Bobby Burton and Jerry Hamilton. Be sure to tell us where you're checking in from this morning. Get your questions in. Let us know what you're drinking as well. But we'll get to your questions here in just a little bit. First, guys, we got a lot to talk about this morning. And Texas back on the practice field. Players meet with the media at 11 as well.
Yeah, it should be back at it to their normal routine now. Through last week, they took the weekend off, but they'll practice Thursday, then they'll practice again Saturday, I believe. But this morning, they're actually already on the practice field. I put some news and notes out based on what I've heard from since last Tuesday's practice over on ontexasfootball.com this morning. Some news and notes that I think are interesting. Steve Sarkisian mentioned this, Jerry, and Blake, in Tuesday's media availability. He talked about how Arch Manning was a little feisty at times with the defense, putting it in their face. I'm being told Trey Owens isn't far behind in that regard. Like I don't want to say it's a tenor change, like a different voice is happening at quarterback right now, but I think those two guys are just demonstrably different type of people and competitors, and it's coming out on the practice field. And I want to say this, it was talked about a lot in the red zone, which was interesting, Jerry, because not that Quinn Ewers isn't a competitor and all that other stuff. We all get that, right? But I'm being told that, Texas scores a touchdown these days in the red zone. Defense is hearing about it a little bit. Now, defense is always, when you're led by a guy like Anthony Hill, the defense is always going to bark. So I think that, I don't want to say the temperatures have risen. I don't think that's the right word, but some of the back and forth bravado has certainly amped in Austin right now. So look, we'll hear from Sark. I don't know if we'll hear from Sark, but we're going to hear from some players today around 11 a.m.
Interesting. Will this be Arch Manning's first time in front of the mic?
Woo! Could be.
I kind of wonder about that. This will be the time to do it. It's spring football. Get it out there. Yeah, look, knowing those guys a little bit through their recruitment, it's not a surprise. Look, on Trey Owens, he's a very, very confident with a funny personality. My son and him went to high school together and had a couple classes together. But anybody that knows his dad is the same way. And they've had some banter on Twitter. But yeah, these and I think KJ Lacey's the same way, by the way. I think Texas quarterback room, if you put them on a basketball court, would engage in really good trash talk. And I like that. I think that's a great place to be because we here at OTF engage in a little of that ourselves. We're not going to address something that happened up the road in College Station yesterday, but that's the one time we won't. But I think these guys have big personality. All of them. And I think they have a nice trash talk component. And what that does is it makes for very spirited practices. And in the spring, you need spirited practices because it can get dull when it's more about player development than anything in evaluation. So I love that there's a lot of banter going on because I think it pushes everybody.
Hey, Jerry, I also want to add a couple other notes I got from that. We had mentioned earlier this week that Zina Umeozulu is back on the practice field now after having thumb surgery earlier last week. I think he's fully healed, ready to go. I was told that he was making a real move. Mm-hmm. And so in a room, I was told that he might be one of the more pleasant surprises, I guess, is the best way to put it. He was making some real movement there prior to that injury. And, don't just because Lance Jackson's in and Justice Terry and those guys might be able to play there. Okay. That's pretty telling. I think that the fact that people are talking about Zena in that regard. Some other news and notes. I asked about Warren Roberson in the secondary because Sark again called him out and singled him out on Tuesday. I said, hey, what's the deal there? And the term they used for Warren Roberson, and this is from somebody that's been around for more than just a year or 6 months or whatever, okay? They use the term dialed in, like not for the first time ever, but he's more dialed in than he ever has been. Now, does that mean he's going to beat out Jalen Gilbo at corner or work into the rotation? I was told about the defense of the secondary in total. This was what it is. Look, there are a ton of talented players back there, like a ton. Like they feel very good about the talent in the secondary. The question is, who's going to play together, who's going to play smart, and who's going to get after the football a little bit. So they haven't got to that part and deep enough, in their opinion, in spring practice to really have a strong determination of that. Of the freshmen, I was told Cade Phillips is still working only at cornerback at this point, primarily at cornerback at least. And then secondarily, I was told that Grayson Littleton has looked really good again as well. So there's some news. And one last thing. Stark also made mention on Tuesday of Christian Clark, the young man out of Arizona, and how he's come back from injury and looked really good. Jerry and Blake, I was also told there that he is absolutely challenging, if not exceeding the challenge of Jarrett Gibson at this point. Now, he's still a little, they're still working him back in the right way, but the idea that Jarrett Gibson is just well ahead of Christian Clark right now, and it's a gap that maybe Christian Clark will never make up or couldn't make up, that's not accurate. He is absolutely challenging for number 2 running back. Trey Wisner is clear number 1 at this point. Oh, and last thing I had, I'm just full of news. This is what happens when I'm out for a day. I've got all these words stored up. The other thing was I asked about Dalen McCutcheon and why was he look, he's amidst Khalil Lockett, Jamie French, Michael Terry, all 3 ranked higher than him. Okay. I asked why he is the guy that Sark's even mentioning, that other people are mentioning to us, etc. And he's just has an understanding of and a purpose when he plays. And that sounds, and Jerry, you mentioned this, it sounds a hell of a lot like DeAndre Moore.
Yeah.
To have a purpose and an understanding of what your role is, and then go out and perform it to the best of your ability. So all of those things add up together. I look, 24 hours of not talking Texas football. I added some stuff up there, guys. Sorry to go on a soliloquy.
No, I think look, there's a lot of positives coming out, as you'd hope there would be with a team this talented. And I would add to that, we talked about a little bit on yesterday's show with Rod, CJ. The young offensive linemen continue to get a lot of really strong reviews. Somebody mentioned Dalen McCutcheon as a punt returner. Well, I think that stuff will play out into fall camp, by the way. See if Jonah Williams gets an opportunity there too. I think he will. So I think some of that stuff will play out. But a lot of positives coming out right now, as there should be. I think McCutcheon and French are, of the young receivers, have picked up the playbook the quickest too, which is maybe as big as anything with Steve Sarkisian.
Hey, Jerry, you mentioned I did not talk to anybody about the offensive line yesterday in my time away, but Sark did mention Nick Brooks on Tuesday.
Oh, yeah.
He was the only true freshman offensive lineman that he's like, he's working in at right tackle, left tackle. So, look, I'm in search, and I think we all are, right? Because we know how we've been around the block 20, 30 years. You look for alphas in a recruiting class early because they tend to show up early because they're friggin' alphas.
Yeah.
I don't know that Nick Brooks, Kelvin Banks was an alpha, right? Showed up, and 2 days later he had the starting job. I don't know that Nick Brooks is that, because Texas is more talented now than when Kelvin Banks arrived on campus. But he's certainly, just based on what you're hearing and you've kind of relayed, and Sark mentioning a true freshman offensive lineman in his first media availability of the spring. that speaks volumes.
Well, and we were talking to Tony Hills about it yesterday. The most impressive thing about Nick Brooks, yeah, he shed weight. I saw him as a senior, and I literally walked. And people, I think 2 people in the industry had him ranked as a 3-star at the time, and they're going to look like idiots, just like the people did on Cam Williams. But he shed weight. The move to Grayson really helped him because every day he went against whether it's Joseph Mbaktu going to Florida or the Allen kid that's going to be a really good pass rusher at Georgia Tech or some young kid at Grayson that may end up being an NFL player. He went against Power 4 guys every single day in practice and was on that winning team. That kid gained a lot of confidence. More than anything you see on the huddle, more than the weight gain. He gained a lot of confidence that senior year at Grayson. But the most impressive thing, Tony Hills, we were talking about it with Rod and CJ yesterday, a guy that is an early enrollee that you're confident enough in to play left tackle and right tackle. It's a different peripheral. It's different steps. That means that guy is a really, really, really talented prospect at a young age, mentally and physically. And he's got a bright future at Texas. I don't think there's any doubt. Any doubt.
All right, guys, before we move on here, Bobby, I'm going to let you take this opportunity to tell everyone about our sponsor today, Vaughn Lane.
Yeah, I love Vaughn Lane. Guys, y'all need to try this if you haven't before. The trip between Austin and Houston is just so easy. I'm sure it's the same for Dallas. But basically, I used to have to go to Austin. When I lived in Houston, I used to have to go to Austin and Dallas, one of the two, almost every other week for different things to do in my job. I would hop on Southwest Airlines and just get going. Well, then the TSA came about 20 years ago. And ever since then, it's just become harder and harder to get from Houston to Austin or Dallas or from Austin to Dallas, San Antonio, etc. Now there's an easier way. It's called Vaughn Lane. Flying is a hassle. Driving isn't much better. If you've ever tried to do a same-day round trip between Dallas and Austin, the hours of lost productivity, emails pile up, calls go unanswered, and work is left undone while you focus on the road. Why waste the day when you can stay connected and productive with Vaughn Lane? They change everything. It's luxury regional bus travel, what some call a private jet on wheels. Give it a chance. You sink into a plush leather seat with leg rest, stay connected with complimentary Wi-Fi. You can have complimentary snacks and drinks on every trip, plus delicious meals on select departures. If you need to freshen up, indulge in a hot towel service, or if you want to relax, they've got eye masks, pillows, and blankets. The Vaughn Lane team takes care of every detail so you can sit back, unwind, and enjoy the most comfortable travel experiences on the road. Business travels, recapture your productivity. Leisure travels, sit back and relax and get pampered. See for yourself. Visit VaughnLane.com. That's VONLANE.com and use promo code OTF25 for $20 off your first trip. Also, if you're planning to visit for a football game, a concert, or special event, you can actually charter your own Vaughn Lane coach for the ultimate group experience. That's VaughnLane.com.
Thank you, Bobby. And over on OnTexasFootball.com on our forums over there, someone posted this morning. All I want for spring is the portal wide receiver, tight end, and defensive lineman. Of course, the portal opens soon, guys, and no questions have been rolling in lately about that. But let's talk about that for a moment.
Yeah, look, I think that's going to be part of what we see in the next week and a half here. I mean, the portal opens officially a week from yesterday.
Yeah.
So I think that Texas does not often throw spaghetti against the wall in the portal. If that makes sense to Texas is much more targeted, at least in football. I don't, can't speak to all other sports. In football, Texas is much more targeted in recruiting out of the portal. And I think they're going to be laser focused on wide receiver, tight end, defensive tackle. Everything else can be ancillary. If there's a big time defensive player, for example, just like they went after the young man out of Stanford, they're going to go after anybody that they think can really up their roster. But wide receiver, defensive tackle, and tight end. Those are the three priorities. I think we just got word too, by the way, that Texas State's kicker this morning announced that he's going into the portal. He was 31 of 35. Will Texas take a roll on that and try to spin the dice? I don't know, but Texas, I don't think Sark is. Like I said, we've said this from the outset. He and Brandon Harris, their idea isn't to play wait and see and try to have things come to them. They want to be aggressive, but they're going to be selectively aggressive and kind of know what they want ahead of time, unless a big time guy that they think can really help their team comes out there. Like the Stanford defensive end is an example of that. They thought he was a top 2 or 3 round draft pick. They needed to go after him.
That's the way wide receiver will be.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. Selectively aggressive, right? Not just throw spaghetti on the wall. Oh, we need another receiver. Let's bring in this guy that, Texas has some ideas behind what they're trying to do.
And we'll talk basketball later to the second part of that question. We're going to hit on that a little bit.
Yep. Yeah. So we're talking about who Texas may add, but let's look at this from PFF about Texas, who they currently have. This is their notable returners, defensive players with rank. And PFF says Texas is returning the number 1 edge, the number 1 linebacker, the number 6 corner, and the number 4 safety. Of course, those being Colin Simmons, Anthony Hill Jr., Malik Muhammad, and safety Michael Taft.
Who's not on that list that should be, Jerry?
Well, that's defense. Defensive guys with a rank.
Yeah.
I think everybody's on it that should be on it to start the season.
Okay.
I think we'll see who makes the jumps this year. LaFau in year 3, could he rise to a top 10 linebacker? I don't know. We'll have to see which of those young guys kind of makes a jump. Because last year, if you'd had this last year, obviously Simmons wouldn't have been on it. He was a true freshman. Taft wouldn't have been on it. Manny probably wouldn't have been on it. Hill would have been on it. So only one of the 4 would have been on this list starting last year. So let's see which of the young guys makes a move this year to get on that list. That's what I'm looking at. I think they have it right in terms of the notable returners. And let's see which young kid takes the biggest jump defensively. I think that's going to be very interesting to watch. Look, could an Alex January come out of nowhere with a lot of snaps to be a top 10 D tackle next year? Derek Williams,
yeah, hold this up. Kyle Vichaska says, I think if Derek Williams had a healthy season last year, he would be on it. Look, I was thinking that maybe Jelani McDonald ends up on this kind of list, the top 10 list.
Next year.
But let's be fair. Jelani McDonald was behind Derek Williams last year prior to Derek Williams' injury.
Yep.
So don't count Derek Williams out, I guess is the best way to put that. So I think that Texas is, like I said, Texas very, very talented, very, very talented in the secondary overall. How do all those pieces come together is one of the primary discussion points, I think, internally for the University of Texas football program right now. They've got a lot of pieces.
Yeah.
How does Pete Kwiatkowski, Dwayne Akina, Kiddo Hudson, Mark Orfe, Johnny Nansen, how do they get them all playing together? Because another thing that Sark was clear about too, Jerry, in that presser, they're going to play the secondary a little bit differently. They're adding some tweaks this year. So given that, we'll have to find out what it all means.
So next year, Hill will be gone to the pros, Muhammad will be gone to the pros, and Taft is gone. Simmons will be the only returner out of these 4. If Texas has 4 again next year, they had a really good season on the field. I put some of this simply until the players that are really going to burst through the door. But if Texas has 4 guys again next year, they had a really good defense and a really good season. Because if you think about it, who would be on that list? Who would make a jump? Well, another defensive back, whether it be a safety, a Jelani McDonald, or maybe a young corner that comes on late, even if Muhammad and Gilbo are your starters. What if a Cade Phillips second half of the year looks, like a guy? another linebacker, jumps on that list. One of the young D linemen or edge guys jumps on that list. If Texas can replace 4 with 4 next year, they had a really good season on the field until we see which of the talented guys are going to make the big jump.
And while we're talking about PFF, they also put out this. Of course, we just saw 4 of those. Most top 10 returning players, and Texas 4th on that list with 5. Alabama, of course, comes in at number 1 at 9. Penn State with 7. Clemson with 6. And then, as I said, Texas with 5, and Auburn and Florida and Indiana and Notre Dame, Ohio State, Oregon Ducks close out your top 10, all tied with 4.
My first thought when you sent this to us last night, Blake, Georgia's not on it. And we talked about how much Georgia lost off that team. Georgia lost a lot of difference makers off their team. That's what's going to – and I bring that up because Texas plays Georgia and lost to them twice last year, right? Heartbreak. But I think Georgia lost in the SEC, lost more impact players than any other team. So Kirby's going to absolutely have to do his best coaching job this year because they lost him at every level of the defense. They lost 4 offensive linemen, and those guys were really good at guard, center, guard when the center was healthy. They lost a number of difference maker, playmakers all over the field at Georgia. Kirby Smart's got his biggest, I think his toughest task since maybe year 1 at Georgia this season because the expectations of that program are national championship. But he lost a lot of dudes off that team that gave Texas hell 2 times, by the way.
For sure. Okay, let's see here. Up next, we've had a lot of people recently ask about the Directors' Cup and where things stand. Of course, we need to get him on here soon, but Brett did put out an update yesterday, guys, and he has a prediction update. And Texas now at the top after trailing for about the last month and a half. And he says Texas has slowly built up its score as the other 3 have faded. Will need to meet lofty expectations in some sports to score above 1,300, but he currently has them at 1,307.25 in his prediction.
That's pretty healthy size margin, I think. The thing that he mentions here that I think is what we really got to track is baseball. Like softball, you think they're going to end up in the College World Series. They're too good, and they're one of the more dominant teams. Baseball right now, what are they ranked? 2nd or 3rd, Blake, in the country? 2nd, I think. Yeah, I mean, the question there is, are they going to make it to the College World Series? And then how high? That's baseball is a little bit different in that I think that they could. He's giving Texas the benefit of the doubt, as in being in 2nd place, if that makes sense. I wonder at this level if that's going to keep up, and that'll be where maybe a Stanford or a USC or somebody like that can push some points. But look, it just goes to show this. It doesn't matter that Texas was in the Big 12 or the SEC for its overall athletic program. It may mean something in baseball and in football where Texas actually, I think, outperformed expectations there so far. But the idea that Texas didn't have this elite national athletic program or they were only feasting on the Big 12, that fallacy can go out the window. People can just go pound sand because Texas has the best athletic department in the country.
And by the way, new sport this year in competition, beach volleyball is ranked top 10. Obviously, there's probably 20 really good programs out there. It's still a growing sport, but Stein Metzger will get Texas some hidden points there in the Directors' Cup this year, more than likely.
Well, let's move on, talk a little recruiting. Jerry, what's the latest there?
Yeah, going to be a big weekend on the 40, but I wanted to kind of take a look more, Oh, by the way, can we bring up – I got to bring this up, man, and then I'll get to other recruiting questions because I don't know where all these rumors are coming from. Somebody asked yesterday, Wheels and Levers, does Turntine weigh now 250? Like somebody asked if he weighs 246. I don't know where all this bull crap's coming from. Like I talked to somebody yesterday. He's 273, 275 right now. I just don't know where it's coming from. It's really weird. But I can tell you this. I mean, people can keep asking the questions. The colleges think his body's going to blow up. They kind of laugh at all this stuff, man. It's like, so I don't know. I mean, people can keep asking the question. I'll keep answering it. But I hope it's not people in the industry I work in saying that, because that means they're not doing their homework and they suck at their job. Okay, so on recruiting, I mean, there are some out there that suck at their job in this industry. Don't get me wrong. This would be the perfect time for them to show their suckage. All right, so on recruiting, Texas Turntine will be on campus Friday, Saturday. KJ Edwards will be on campus. Samari Matthews, I think, is a big visit because he's never been on campus before. Howard Howard, the corner out of Edna Carr, LSU offered 2 days ago. He's scheduled to be on campus. This will be first visits for those guys, and I think there'll be a few others trickle in like that. This will be their first visit at Texas. But I wrote a story on TexasFootball.com this morning, kind of looking at the corners. And I wanted to play Cameron Hamil because a lot of these guys are going to be coming in the last weekend in April around the fan day. This is a guy I love. I think he's very underrated nationally as a corner, very physical, very reactive. Moved from Fort Wayne, Indiana area to the Phoenix area. So maybe got lost in the shuffle a little bit. But this guy is a reactive downhill player. The thing with him is he'll be making his first unofficial visit to Texas coming up in a couple of weeks. And what he's done, because his recruiting blew up so fast, is he hasn't scheduled any official visits yet. He is just going to go through this unofficial visit process, then find the right fit. So, boy, this kid's really good, Bobby. And then he's going to lock in his official visits. I think Texas has a really good chance to get one of those official visits. You have Justice Fitzpatrick from St. Thomas Aquinas at the corner position coming in later this month. He has a June 13th OV scheduled already. That's Minka Fitzpatrick's brother. Obviously, Georgia with Kirby Smart's a player. Ohio State, Miami are all players for Justice Fitzpatrick. Jalen Lott, I think Texas had a really good meeting with Jalen Lott and his family at the Texas Relays. Jermaine Bishop from Willis, the two in-state guys. We'll show Bishop's huddle here in a little bit because we want to talk about him as just one of the better pure athletes, and because people ask about his weight too and physically how he looks like Xavier Worthy did, but I think he's got maybe a thicker lower body, legs frame, seeing him in person. But the cornerback board, if you want to see a lot of that board, it's on TexasFootball.com. But there's some big visits coming up for Texas this weekend and at April 26th weekend at the corner spot, because Mark Orphe's made some offers now. Samari Matthews, Cameron Hamil. He's got Texas some official visit set with Justice Fitzpatrick, but he's never been on campus before. So there's some big unofficial visits for the first time to campus coming up here this weekend and April 26th, maybe in that April 17th, 18th week too, whenever kids get on campus. But there's some big unofficial visits coming, and I think that's really going to shape this corner board outside of the two guys, Jalen Lott and Jermaine Bishop, who are just great athletes. And you say you can play corner, you just get on campus and we'll figure it out. But we could play at corner, we could play at receiver. Those two guys are just tremendous athletes and two of the better guys nationally that are both open to playing corner.
I'm just looking at Cameron Hamil here, Jerry, that you're talking about. And I will say this. And somebody asked if he's a corner or safety. He looks like a corner to me. What looks like he does that is elite. Obviously, he's physical and long-armed and has all of those traits that Texas kind of covets. But what he does as well as anybody you will see at that age is come out of the T-step and drive.
Yes.
He accelerates through that. And like that right there, that's elite. So I don't know what this guy's ranked. Don't really care. He's good enough to play at Texas. That's my insider knowledge of this sort of thing, because anybody that has a T-step like that is going to play corner over safety most likely. Especially if he looks long here. Yeah. Do you know what he lists at height wise?
6'175" ish.
Yeah. He's got long arms, man. He looks a little bit like Shockey Brown to me.
He's got
a little bit
elite,
more physical than Shockey was.
yeah, elite physicality and closing speed, elite closing speed. And that's the thing with him is that closing speed is a very, very good place to be. And then you develop from there. But man, this kid's he's really good. If he doesn't rise up the rankings his senior year, I'll be shocked. His playing speed is really fast.
What I was going to say to you, I don't know if you saw that one play where he was in trail position. He looked back for the ball, Jerry.
Yeah.
A lot, and Rod Babers talks about this a lot of times. You're either a guy that looks back for the ball or plays through the hands and the body of a receiver. He looks back. That means more interceptions are possible. So if he could carry that through to the college game, I'm absolutely a fan, no doubt. Good player.
Well, Jerry, before we move on, I'm going to let you tell everyone out there about Gooder.
I'll be wearing my Gooders if I can find them. If not, Gooder, send me some more $25 Sunnies. I've misplaced them. I'm going to need them stalking recruits this weekend, man. I mean, it's that time of year. But why Gooder, you ask? Stylish Sunnies starting at only $25 a pair. I'll put my fake Gooders on for the read. 1-year warranty. Don't need it. Have to read it. 30-day free returns. You'll never need that either. Why do I love my Gooders? They're lightweight and comfortable. They're 100% polarized. No slip, no bounce. Vibrant colors to sleek styles. There's a pair of Gooders for every personality out there. As I've said, if John Shire need to hide from the Duke fans for a while, Gooders are great for you too. Designed for both everyday wear and active individuals that love to run, hike, bike, and much, much more. When does Bobby Burton wear his Gooders? Tennis, pickleball, those sort of type of things. Yeah, for sure. But on a hike, maybe on a run. Blake, he wears his while he critiques his son's batting stance and fundamentals, which will be Friday night. If you need a new pair of Sunnies, Gooder is giving On Texas football listeners free shipping. You can go to gooder.com/OnTexas all caps and use that code OnTexas all caps for free shipping. Gooder offers a 30-day money-back guarantee and 100% satisfaction. Again, that's gooder.com/OnTexas and use that code OnTexas for free shipping.
Thank you, Jerry. And I'm also going to let everyone know about Timeline's MitoPure. If you work out, it's a supplement that you're going to want to add to your daily regimen because it supports your health at the foundation by encouraging cellular renewal. Heck, even if you don't work out, you need to add MitoPure to your daily routine. It's a precise dose of the rare postbiotic urolithin A. It works by promoting an essential cellular cleanup process that clears out your cell's battery packs. There's a lot of products out there that claim to make you stronger. They claim to pack on muscle, but Timeline's MitoPure is shown to deliver double-digit increases in muscle strength and endurance without a change in exercise. They don't just claim it, they deliver on it. I can tell you that I personally love it because I recover a lot more quickly from my workouts. I can tell a tremendous difference with it. I also have a lot more energy because of it, which is just an added bonus in my book. MitoPure is the research-backed innovation that unlocks your fullest potential. Awaken the strength, power, and resilience already in you with the first and only supplement clinically proven to rejuvenate health at the cellular level. And right now, Timeline is offering 10% off your order of MitoPure. Just go to timeline.com/OnTexas. That's Timeline, TIMELINE.com/OnTexas and take advantage of that 10% offer. And up next, you alluded to it a minute ago, Jerry, but we need to talk basketball. What you got for us?
You got the updated roster look for us from our On Texas basketball Instagram, On Texas basketball Instagram. So this is where Texas is at right now. Matas is center, obviously. I think there's 3 official visitors for sure this weekend, and those are 2 guys, Matas and Camden Hyde, who are already committed to Texas. And I believe Lacina Traore, the Xavier transfer big man in the portal, who was a double-double machine at Long Beach State, he will also be on campus. And I still think Texas is a pretty big leader for Traore, which would add one more big man to this roster, which, I mean, Texas fans will go to Moody next year and say, what is this? Yeah, it's a lot of height and length on this roster. When you look at the guys that Sean Miller's added, 6'8" Swain, who's a combo forward, Cam Hyde, 6'7", very athletic wing player who can really shoot the 3, and Matas, a true 7-footer. And then John Clark, another the freshman, true freshman, coming in at 6'8.5", 6'9". So if they get Traore, then you're down to 2 spots. One of those will be a combo guard in my estimation, and that could be out of the portal or it could be internationally. One thing with Sean Miller's recruiting and the future of Texas basketball, you will hear a lot of international players. And I think that's a great thing, by the way. I love it because those guys come over having played against older competition, and they're coming over now. They're also coming over closer to 20 years than 18 years, which is really good too. If you get the right guys as a college basketball program, they're a little more physically mature and have been playing against older players for much longer. So that 12, if Traore joins and that's 11, that 12th spot's going to be a combo guard, ball handler. Can't be a non-shooter, has to be a shooter. Need it to have some size. Need it to be a 6'3", 6'4" type of guy because you have Jordan Pope, who's a 6-foot guard. Sean Miller doesn't want to have 2 6', 6'1" guards unless one of them is absolute jet with a basketball. And that guy's not really out there. And then, that 13th spot, it could be a developmental guy. It could be a high school guy. It could be an international guy that needs some time, that's really talented and skilled, maybe needs to add some strength to his frame. But it's going to be a thorough investigation for the 13th spot and what's the best prospect for Texas. But the roster, I mean, look, some interesting. People haven't kept up with it. Way too early top 25s in basketball are coming out. Gary Parrish had Texas at 20. ESPN had Texas at 24. And I think coaching –
Is that 14th in the SEC, though?
It's a good question. It's probably 11th. But Sean Miller's going to – Texas is going to get a Sean Miller coaching bump in these rankings. The basketball community is big believers, coaching community, and the people who have covered us a long time are big believers in Sean Miller. I'm actually a big believer in what Sean Miller could do at Texas, but he's built a roster that's going to have size, it's going to have length, it's going to have versatility, and they're going to be ready to compete now. I also am big on the future, years 2 and years 3, kind of setting the foundation here. They're going more experience at guard in year 1, which I think is smart. And some of those bigs are going to be foundational developmental pieces, even though Matas was the AAC Freshman of the Year. Some of those backup guys are going to be younger guys that are talented that they can develop. So I think they'll end up with Traore. We'll see how it all finishes. Sometimes things change, but I like Texas' chances there. So they have the 2 experienced guys, and Dalen Swain's kind of that combo forward. If you play 4 out, 1 in, he can play the wing type forward type 4 for you in a 4 out, 1 in style. But that's the thing when you build that complete roster, you can play different types of styles depending on your matchups and who you play. I think Sean Miller's going to build really, really talented rosters at Texas.
Jerry, just real briefly, who's the starting 5 if they finish today? Like put that back up.
I need to see who the next combo guard is because for me, Jordan Pope and Weaver have a lot of bring defense and scoring punch off the bench for you. Camden Hyde, potentially the same thing depending on, but I could see Hyde, Swain. I could see Mark, the next combo guard that comes in. Mark, that guy, Hyde, Swain, and Matas. And then if they play a lot of 4 out, 1 in, you're going to have more of that look because Dalen Swain is really good with the ball, like really good. And that was year 2. I think he's getting some NBA first round mock drafts. If he improves from freshman to sophomore year, from sophomore to junior year, similar to freshman to sophomore year, he may only be at Texas 1 year and be a first round pick. He's that highly thought of, I think, right now. But he's got to do it on the court this year. But he's a very skilled guy that can put in a 4 out, 1 in. So I think if they go 4 out, 1 in, that's what you're looking at. But I think that roster versatility is the key.
And a couple of follow-up questions real quick. Jerry, Joshua wants to know who would be our best 3-point shooter?
Well, they got 3 quality guys. I mean, Camden Hyde shot, 39.4 last year. Tremont Mark's in the 36 range. Pope's in that 36, 37 range. Those 3 guys. But that next combo guard can't be a non-shooter. He's going to have to be a guy that shoots it well. So I think they will add another guy in that range, in that 36, 37, 38% capability 3-point range.
All right, good deal. Well, fellas, we got a super chat that we need to jump over to. Actually, a couple of them. So we're going to do that. And Ghost of UT Boy Thank you for the super chat. It says, we were concerned with defensive line and tight end last year. We were wrong. Also, I love you all, but was almost laughed off this chat for saying that UT was SEC ready.
We were concerned about tight end last year. No doubt about that. And Gunnar Helm proved us wrong. Defensive line, interior defensive line, proved us wrong. Texas went to the portal for the defensive linemen, though. It's that they had success there to match with Alfred Collins and Vernon Broughton. Okay. This year, it's almost exclusively portal because you only really have Alex January returning. So I think that the portal takes are going to have to really step up. It was somewhat disappointing that Sark on Tuesday said that Travis Shaw is dealing with a lingering knee issue. Now, he's not out, but the idea that one of the 2 or 3 guys that you really were going to lean on is dealing with a lingering knee issue and you're in spring ball is not what you want to hear necessarily. So I do think that an interior defensive lineman is going to be important. I do think that they are going to go after a tight end in the portal. We'll see where it all ends up. But look, Texas is very, very talented in general. And you were right if you said that last year, that they weren't going to have to worry about tight end or defensive line.
Yeah, my take last year was that there was going to be a faster team, the fastest team Sark has had at Texas. And I think that ended up being true. Now, they'd had to deal with injury. Obviously, when Isaiah Bond went out, boom, that was a big injury from a team speed standpoint. This year, I think it's going to be, in a weird way, it's going to be the biggest Texas team Sark's had. And by biggest, I mean whether that's height at receiver, bigger guys, whether that's weight of guys, size, speed, weight combination at linebacker is going to be, I mean, easily the best Texas has had. Bigger guys in the secondary. They've recruited those guys. Maybe some bigger guys as far as frame-wise goes on the edge. So this is going to be the biggest team. Somebody asked about 300-pound offensive tackles. I mean, what Goosby's 320, Brandon Baker's 315, 320. That's one of the things, too, is everybody – I think there's, the large human thing's gotten to the point where people are thinking everybody's going to be 340 to 350. It doesn't have to be that way. That's not what Texas is necessarily saying. But, you have to – you're going to have tackles this year that are going to be 320 and 315-ish. They don't all have to be 340 and 350. Yeah, Kelvin Banks was 315. I think there's kind of a misnomer there. I think the interior guys, the bigger you are in the SEC, but you have to be able to move your feet, the better. But Texas is going to have the biggest team they've had in the Sark era this year, and that's without the portal additions coming. So you're going to probably add a tight end. If you add another wide receiver, I don't think it's going to be a Silas Bolden type. I think it's going to be a bigger guy as well with size. And so I think that's where this program's headed. And the linebackers, frame-wise, are going to look drastically different this year than versus previous years at Texas. Oklahoma does. I can say Oklahoma does have wide receiver injury issues in the spring right now. I was told the same thing yesterday by somebody who actually is in our chat from time to time that would know. So Oklahoma's dealing with some wide receiver injuries.
And we have another super chat. This one from Tex Fan. Thank you for the super chat. Where are they showing the Sark press conferences this year? And where can you see the players' press availability as well? It's hard to find this year.
Yeah, you may not be able to get the player press availability, frankly, unless the Longhorn Network airs it. For those of you that wonder, the LHN app is the only way really to be assured that you get it. It does not mean, however, that they will be live at that point in time. I think we've learned that at this point. But the LHN app, it's really simple to download. It's what I use when I'm not there in the building, as well as any of you guys to watch the press conferences. But I would download that. It's free, and just use that to watch them.
Okay, and then our next question here comes from Heoli Frioli 93. With all the draft chatter and mock drafts that have almost 3 guaranteed Texas first rounders, Banks, Barron, and Golden, who would y'all's first round sleeper be? Bond, Williams, or somebody else?
Well, somebody just mocked Bond, but mine would be Alfred Collins.
Bond or Alfred Collins is like a last 2 picks of the first round, depending on the need, or if somebody traded up.
Or a run on a particular position.
Yeah.
Because I was listening to Sark talk with Colt McCoy about, where does Quinn Ewers go in this draft? And some of that it may be predicated on what goes before him, right? Like how quickly do the quarterbacks go off the board? And I agree with that. I think that Texas will have 3 first-rounders. I don't think there's any doubt about that. I think that the question is, does Isaiah Bond or Alfred Collins slip into that top 50?
And I would say coming out of pro day, Bobby, Isaiah Bond helped himself more than the other player.
Yes.
Injured the last half of the year, maybe didn't run what would the time expect at the combine. And I'm not just talking about him slicing a little bit off his 40 time. He looked really dang good running routes. He looked healthy running routes for Quinn that day. He helped himself more than anybody else. I don't think there's any doubt.
Yeah, and Alfred was in a boot.
Right.
And so if you're gauging which way he's going, I think Alfred is made for the NFL.
Yes.
That's one thing because in the NFL it's about making the off-schedule plays as much as it is the every down ones. I think he's kind of made for the NFL in that regard. Plus, he's an upfield guy. The one thing that I just talking about after listening to Sark with his interviews with Colt and Chris Sims and listening to him, what he talked about on Tuesday. One of the things I would say as it relates to the NFL draft, and Zane Petty writes, I hope Benda gets drafted in the 6th, 7th round. Sark had 14 players go to the NFL Combine. Okay. He thinks, Jerry and Blake, that it's possible more than that get drafted. Like he thinks that Gavin Holmes, Silas Bolden, David Benda, they might get late round flyers on 1 or 2 of those guys. I could see Texas actually, of the 14 that went to the combine, maybe only 12 or 13 get drafted. And then one of those guys like Benda gets drafted late to actually make it 14. But we'll see. I will add this. I was talking to Rod Babers yesterday briefly. Jerry has been in on this as well. We're going to have our NFL draft party on that Thursday night, by the way, here at On Texas Football. We did a live reaction to the NFL draft last year when Texas had Xavier Worthy go in the first round. We're going to do that again on that Thursday night. So please join us here at On Texas Football for that process. Should be fun with more Longhorns expected to go earlier.
Speaking of the draft, one thing that we've talked about I guess about the past month and a half is Banks slipping in a lot of mock drafts. And Max Chadwick from PFF actually tweeted this out. He said, Kelvin Banks Jr. had 9 games this past season against defensive lines that were among the 25 highest graded in the Power 4. In those games, 83.7 PFF grade, 85.6 pass blocking grade, 2.2% pressure rate allowed. And then Chadwick goes on to say, a whole lot of overthinking with him right now. The best offensive lineman in the draft, in his opinion.
Not just Kelvin Banks, but we talked about this with all 4 of the offensive linemen that are in the draft this year for Texas. I don't care what Texas' schedule was ranked. If you look at the individual players Texas played against last year on the defensive front, just look at your mock drafts. Who'd they play against? Mason Graham, Kenneth Grant, Mykel Williams, the 2 bigs from Georgia, Ingram Dawkins. I mean, you just keep going. All the A&M guys. Did those guys even show up that game? I don't know. They had more grass in their face mask than anything. And just think about all the NFL players that are about to get, the guys that are about to be drafted on the defensive front, the Texas offensive linemen play Ohio State guys, right? And Texas offensive line's tape is against a ton of guys that are going in the first 3 rounds in this NFL draft. If people are look, they're looking for warts. We talk about it. That's what pro sports is. With all this time up to the drafts, right? You're investing so many millions of dollars. Kevin Durant can't bitch 185. I'll take Greg Oden, the guy who's one leg longer than the other. Idiots. Look, that's what it is. They're looking for warts. But the tape for these guys, every time they lined up on the field, Deontay Walker at Kentucky, they're playing against NFL guys. Like high draft picks, Bobby. It's like, you can keep looking, but the competition this year, if you trust your eyes and what you saw, you know.
Y'all go down. Whoever wants to can go down Kelvin Banks all they want. It ain't gonna make a you know what. That's my feeling at the end of the day. I mean, look, Sark is so right on this, so right on. Okay. He talks about a mentality of a football player. I mean, he talked about, remember this, Kelvin Banks, Texas signed seven offensive linemen in the Pancake Factory. 7. 6 of them were mid-year grads and came in 4 or 5 months early, participated in spring practice. Kelvin Banks was the lone one that did not do that. And he was a starter within 2 days of arriving on campus. Good luck. It's not going to work. People doubting people like that are dumb. Now, I know it's a beauty's in the eye of the beholder. I get all that. So maybe he goes to 10 instead of, 5. Okay. I would take him over Tyler Warren, because I'm going to have a left tackle for the next 10 years as opposed to a tight end that may or may not be able to be used if you're not in the Andy Reid system. Frankly, that's part of the issue I have with tight ends. Unless you're going to a system that really utilizes that position, what's the value of them? I mean, I go back to that in recruiting. Like I rated a couple of different tight ends really highly in my lifetime as the head evaluator of different places, whether it was Rivals or what have you. And, unless you're going to use that guy, what's the real value of a tight end being that good? Like, are you convinced if the New York Jets took Tyler Warren, that the New York Jets should be taking Tyler Warren? Because they're not going to get crap out of that tight end position. They just, they need to go work on their offensive and defensive lines. So anyways, that's I'm a big believer in Kelvin Banks, and will be until proven otherwise, because he's done nothing other than tell us to believe in him. His actions have said believe in him. And so that's where I'm at. One other thing that we didn't mention as it relates to offensive line, Jerry, and this is going towards what we talked about a little bit. Sark saying DJ Campbell was having an elite camp, hit the best he's ever had. I think that is a sign of a guy growing up. We all grow up at different times, right, Jerry? I mean, Kelvin Banks came in and he was ready to go from day one. For DJ Campbell, it may have taken 2.5, 3 years to get into that schedule, into that just ingrained thought process and culture and et cetera. Now, he's always been talented. The talent's never been questioned.
Well, we talked about this with DJ coming out of high school, and that's why these guys are different. Kelvin Banks was a left tackle as long as you can remember. DJ Campbell, through some of his high school career, and even into his senior year, said, maybe I want to play D-line more. He played a lot of defensive line. He played left tackle. He had never really played guard, like for an extended period of time. So his developmental curve, even though he was ranked highly, was different than a Kelvin Banks. I mean, Kelvin Banks has been a left tackle probably since he was in youth football. But DJ Campbell was a defensive lineman that they played at left tackle at Bowie because they got to win games. And then he had to transition and learn how to play guard at the college level. That's just not add water instant player type of stuff. And all these guys have different runways they're on. And then with DJ Campbell, I mean, look, DJ Campbell's kind of on the Alfred Collins path for me. extremely talented. But now you're down to it, man. This is your last year. So are you going to go maximize that talent and be the draft pick that you have the potential to be, or are you not? It's really up to him. And I think he'll have a really good year, because the one thing that now these kids like DJ Campbell, who are ranked really high, that are entering their last year, they've seen a lot of guys ranked around them already in the NFL draft out of high school. And so that pushes those guys a little bit too. It's my last year, man. All my boys are getting drafted high. All these guys that was at the Under Armour game or these camps with have gotten drafted high. Maybe I need to push it a little bit more.
That's a great point, Jerry. Great. I mean, look, peer, you are who you hang out with, right? And that what a lot of people say.
You are who you roll with.
Yeah.
That's what I tell Cole.
He wants to roll with a certain group. And a lot of that group is getting ready to make some coinage in the NFL. Not that they're not in college anymore, but maybe some lifetime money, you know?
Yeah. Hey, by the way, Zane Petty brings up something I want to bring up in the Kelvin Banks discussion. And I hope if the NFL, these are little things, but I hope the NFL did their homework on this, because I know this story. I used to be ESPN Under Armour game. So, and I wasn't at the time, but some of my good friends still are. So when Kelvin Banks got to Orlando for the Under Armour game, this is what happens in those games, being part of it. Bobby, you know this from the Adidas game, or what was called the Army game back in the day when you were part of that. Everybody, 80% of these guys play left tackle, right? So it's a volunteer. Hey, man, who wants to play right tackle? Who's willing to play right tackle this week? Kelvin Banks raised his hand. He had never played right tackle in his life. And the first time he ever did it was at the Under Armour game. So your second practice, so that first practice is not full pads, and you're just out there trying to learn the play installs for the week, right? Your first padded practice at right tackle, you're going to get some 5-star future first-round pick off the edge in a game like that. And you've never played the position before. But so I hope those are the things that I look at with NFL draft. Yeah, they're looking for warts, but that's one of those things, like if I talk to Billy Tucker and Craig Halbert and Tom Luganbill, who are still there and part of that game, hey, what'd y'all think of Kelvin Banks that week? Or were there any red flags with Kelvin Banks? No, in fact, he was the guy that volunteered to play right tackle. He'd never done it before. He did it for his team. He did it for the game. Those things matter. It's small, but they matter as much as the warts you're looking for.
All right, you're watching.
Somebody could never have been more wrong on a prediction than that. That's like an old friend of mine that I used to know, and Max Imfinger saying that Emmitt Smith could never be a running back. He's too slow. It's categorically bad. I hope, and I've said a lot of things in my lifetime. I hope none of them come back and bite me like that. The idea that Kelvin Banks couldn't play left tackle is asinine.
We have a super chat from our cleanup hitter at Comanche.
We do indeed. And he didn't say anything because he's here.
Nice. What's up, Colt?
What's up?
Tell everybody hello, then get back to school.
Got an online school, Colt?
No. We had
You,
a start test yesterday, so we're like not really doing anything today.
and you had a dentist appointment this morning.
Yeah.
There you go. I don't know. Krista is your mom's a teacher. I don't know if she approves of this.
She's not going to approve of this at all. I'm going to be in trouble later.
Best of luck this season, Colt. Seriously.
Thank you.
Glad you're doing okay, man.
Thank you.
All right. Well, Bobby, if you don't mind, tell everyone out there about Pesty.
Yeah, absolutely. If you're tired of dealing with bugs, ants, insects of any kind around the house, nobody likes it. I hate ants. We get a little infestation after rain. They all try to come through the brick. But using a professional service can often be more expensive than what you want. That's why there's Pesty. Me and my wife use it. It's an affordable, pet-friendly, self-service solution. Other pest control companies charge over $800 a year, but with Pesty, you can get started at just $35 a treatment with a customized plan based on your location, type of bugs that you have to deal with, and the climate. Pesty is easy to use. Everything you need comes in one simple package. The kit includes a sprayer, mixing bag, gloves, and with instructions you can complete in a short period of time. Pesty gets rid of over 100 types of bugs, from spiders and ants to roaches and scorpions. Pesty is kid and pet friendly. The pesticides they ship are fully registered and have been used in hospitals and schools all over the country. Pesty also offers a 100% bug-free guarantee, or your money back. If the bugs don't go away, you'll get a free refund. Nobody likes being bugged, especially, by bugs. And when they show up, you want them gone fast. With Pesty's do-it-yourself pest control, you can protect your home easily and at a quarter of the cost. Give them a shout. Protect your home from bugs with Pesty. Go to pesty.com/OTF for an extra 10% off your order. That's Pesty, PESTIE.com/OTF for an extra 10% off. At least go check it out, guys. Go to the website and see what I'm talking about, because it does save you some money, and it's been helpful for our house here as well.
Blake, I got to hit a couple of things.
Yeah, go ahead.
Phil McIntosh, Masters starts in a few minutes. He misses Vintage Tiger, don't we all? He asked who y'all got in the Masters this year. Yeah, I mean, obviously, Scotty Scheffler found this little bit in the golf swing last week. He's coming in with a little more confidence, because I think he was, he was not questioning himself, never a Hall of Famer, but the golf. It's the golf. Anybody that's played golf knows, man, what he was going through a little bit. But it's gonna be interesting to see this week. The old Texas Tech grad that missed the money train by a couple of years, but he's doing well in his own money train right now. Hovig was a really, really, really talented guy who's already been close. But it's gonna be. I'm interested. I'm not sure I have a pick this week, but one of the there's two guys who would be unbelievable winners of the Masters. Obviously, Rory to complete the Grand Slam. But if Jordan Spieth ever wins another Masters again, it'd be really cool, because the 12th hole, I think, has stayed with him for quite a few years. I think it's stayed with him for quite a few years. So either one of those two guys, I would love to see either one of those two guys win the Masters, because I'd love to see Rory complete the Grand Slam and get that monkey off his back, because the years are adding up now since he put the ball in the Butler cabin. And then Jordan Spieth overcoming years later what happened on the 12th to him.
Yeah, I'm a little bit more provincial. As far as I know, and I'm looking through the field right now, there's only two Longhorns in it.
That's correct.
Scotty Scheffler and Jordan Spieth. That's who I'm rooting for. I don't really care who wins otherwise. I'm all about the Longhorns.
There's three. Jonathan Vegas is currently 2 under through 9.
Oh, nice. Hook 'em horns. Go for it. Hit that little white ball. Chase it and hit it. Put it in the hole.
All right, we got a lot of good questions this morning. It's hard to pick between all the great ones, but let's take this one from Johnny Epps. Which opponents are y'all looking forward to traveling to in the next few years? Johnny says he's looking forward to going to Baton Rouge and never got our get back from that Joe Burrow year.
Well, Jerry has got a mind for this a little bit. He thinks that Texas is definitely going to go to Ole Miss.
Absolutely.
Tennessee.
100%. Yes.
Not this year, but next year.
Yeah. So it's going to be interesting. So if Texas does not play at Ole Miss in 2 years, I'll be shocked. I mean, because that's Arch Manning. It'll probably be his last year in college, playing at Ole Miss, and everything that would come with Manning playing at Ole Miss. Archie's getting up there in years. Eli Cooper signed with Ole Miss. And then will Texas play at Tennessee or Tennessee at Texas? They may do a reversal there. Tennessee may be at Texas for the other Manning game, but I guarantee you those two games are on the schedule.
They got to be.
Oh, it's 100% happening, and it will be at Ole Miss. But this year, look, if everybody take away Ohio State, if you're talking an SEC road game, man, I'm really split for the fans. At Georgia or at Florida, if you said, man, I can only make one trip, what is the one? It's a tough call Florida's cool if you're a college football guy because Spurrier's Bar and Grill is actually really cool. I've been to it a few times when I'm traveling through schools in Florida. It's actually really cool. He does a podcast there. There's tons of his memorabilia. All the coasters have like his favorite plays on them. It's actually a really cool spot, really well thought out. And then the Swamp, and then Lagway versus Manning this year. That might be a good trip. And maybe get over the Crescent Beach if you get there a day early and see some blue water. But Georgia, there's also Georgia. And Athens, really cool college town. I think the stadium, the way it's set on that campus is really, really, really cool. I'm split on that either way. I mean, maybe you go to Georgia because they're not going to be on the schedule, and Georgia beat Texas twice last year, and you'd love to be in Athens though if Texas beats Georgia. But I'm split on those two if you said you could only make one.
And your wife with the idea of the week here. Jenny says, I do think we should organize a Vaughn Lane road trip for the OTF family. Who's in? We can pick an away game.
Dude, I'd love to take a bus to Athens. So I've seen a game in the Swamp. I saw 2 Florida State games back when both teams were tremendous back in the 90s. I would go. I want to go to the Ohio State game, obviously, this year. But I'm more interested in going to Athens because I've never been there for a game actually. So I'm really interested in that one for me.
A couple of things here.
I want to add this. Mississippi State was probably my least favorite road trip when I was in college.
100%.
It was brutal. The weather was bad. Everything about Mississippi State was not a good road trip, including I think the county was a dry county too back then. So, anyways,
Horn 7, DJ Lagway not throwing. He's got some sort of undisclosed shoulder thing going on, which is limiting him, which is kind of scary if your quarterback can't throw in the spring. So
yeah, didn't they take another guy out of the portal to kind of back him up? I think they did to try to make sure, because last year they went down to the bottom after Mertz went out and then DJ Lagway went out. They started a walk-on at quarterback, right?
Yeah.
I think they went and got another one in the portal to back up Lagway.
So. The other one is, Dwayne, somebody in the chat needs to look this up, but that could very well be true. But because outside of Florida State, who was really beating Florida at that time?
Well, Peyton never beat Florida.
Right, and that's for one of Spurrier's funniest lines of all time when Peyton came back for his senior years. You can't spell Citrus Bowl without UT. Saying Tennessee's not beating Florida. That's one of his funnier lines of the many. I don't know on Eli. Somebody will have to look that up. But look, not many people other than Bobby Bowden. Nobody's in it. Is that true?
No, Eli Manning. So I asked ChatGPT. Eli Manning defeated the University of Florida twice during his college football career at Ole Miss. On October 5th, 2002. They upset number 6 Florida 17-14. And then the following year, October 4th, 2003, Manning led Ole Miss to a 20-17 win over number 24 Florida in Gainesville.
There you go.
We know.
Yep. That's going to be but look, Ole Miss and Tennessee are going to be on the schedule. There's no doubt.
They should be. It'll be fun. Yeah. That's part of the fun.
Yeah. All right, more questions here this morning. And let's see here. Let's take this one from, actually, it's more of a comment here from Dave Ashley. He says, Jerry, Bobby, the weakest link of this team is the defensive line. It's imperative Texas be successful in the portal. Otherwise, opposing teams are going to wear out our linebackers.
I would not say the weakest link is the defensive line right now. I mean, they've got a guy that, how many snaps has Cole Brevard had? Travis Shaw is a definite player if he's healthy. Hero Canoe can see snaps. Alex Jan. I'm more the weakest link right now, in my opinion. Now, is it going to be once somebody gets healthy? I don't know. It's tight end. I mean, Texas doesn't have a guy that's caught a pass. I mean, the defensive line has answers, but the tight end position at Texas right now is in a big question mark. I mean, I love Spencer Shannon and Jordan Washington as players. It's not that. I think Spencer is going to be a good inline tight end. I think Jordan Washington can be a well-rounded tight end, but he's hurt.
Right, he's missed a lot.
Literally, Sark was talking about they're not two-spotting practice right now, and that means part of it is because they don't have the players.
Yeah,
and so I don't think, Dave, I disagree with you slightly. Okay, I think that that actual tight end is the one that I just circle right now and say if there's any spot that's imperative that they get someone from the portal, it's that one. Do I think that they need another defensive tackle? Yes. But at least maybe that's where I'm at, because until Nick Townsend's on campus and he understands the offense and Emory Winston knows the offense and is physical enough, I think that's the position for me, Dave. It just is.
On the D line, what's interesting to me is I think they're going to be better on the interior against the run next year, but they need a disruptor to go with out of the portal. I think they're against the run. I think they're going to be better than last year. And maybe that's a combination of all of it together. And I also think Kenny Baker's a very high level coach as well. So I think they're actually going to be better against the run. I think Cole Brevard, and look, I mean, they did this with Jermaine Lole last year too. They limited him in the spring to make sure he got to next season healthy. Obviously, they're doing the same thing with Shaw. But Shaw, Brevard, Canu's been in college football a while. Alex January, year two. I think they'll need to add a disruptor, but I think they might actually be better against the run next year on the interior. And maybe that's also the size at linebacker that's going to help that as well. And older linebackers.
And guys, we've been talking about tight end off and on. We do know that Texas plans to take a tight end in the portal, but Horn 7 wants to know, is it possible they could take two in the portal this season?
I strongly doubt that. Strongly doubt that. They're looking for one. Look, they like Spencer Shannon. They like Jordan Washington. Okay, they're not looking for an overhaul at the position. So I want to be clear. There's levels, right? I guess is what I'm saying. And so I think they're looking for someone that has some experience, that's a little bit older, that can fill a gap right now. Because they did not. Part of the problem is they did not recruit a guy to follow up on Gunnar Helm for a year. If you remember the class of Jerry, 2023 or 2022 now, that did not have a tight end in it. And that's what they're dealing with, really, is that gap.
Okay, our next question.
By the way, it's a great.
Go ahead, Bob.
No, that's a great example of when missing in recruiting comes home to roost. The problem comes home to roost. You needed a tight end, you didn't get one that year.
By the way, Isaiah Stewart has a question on Nick Townsend. Any chance he's glancing at the playbook? No, for sure is. He's getting ready for the regional meet in the 200 meters and a couple of relays. But he was on campus a couple of weeks ago, and he sat in on the tight end team meetings. And he watched a couple of practices. So they're definitely trying to get him up to speed without being there. And you're only a month and a half away from reporting at this point.
Yeah, that's good insight. I didn't realize he sat in on team meetings. Good stuff.
Yeah. And then King Me says, with 25 freshmen this cycle, how many do you expect to lose their red shirt by week 5 against Florida?
Man, a lot. I think more, because Sark's already told us he's playing more players. He's told us we got to play more players. So
the question, though, now it takes 5 games to lose your red shirt. So how many guys are going to play against Ohio State as true freshmen?
All right.
Because that's what it's saying. You're going to have those 3 games after Ohio State, and then you're going to go play Florida.
Guys that I think will, whether it's special teams.
Yeah, I think 5 to 7 is the max number on who will lose it by game 5. I think 20 could play by game 5. But given the new redshirt rules of you being able to play 4 games and not break a redshirt, I don't see that happening against Ohio State. You're probably going to play 5 to 7 true freshmen against Ohio State. Just my guess.
I'll throw some names out. Let's see how many end up playing.
Yeah.
Jonah Williams as special teams, right?
Okay.
Justice Terry in any role. Cade Phillips, special teams. Jamie French probably will play. Grayson Littleton's currently getting some second team reps at nickel. Dalen McCutcheon's probably going to be a number 2 wide to DeAndre Moore. Nick Brooks is going to be a number 2 tackle. So does that mean he's on special teams like Cam Williams was his freshman year?
Oh yeah, like field goal and
Zealous Hicks, special teams guy, probably. Emery Winston is a 3 tight end. So those are your guys. I think if you're looking at game 1, it'll be interesting to see. I think. Oh, by the way, Bobby, on this house settlement, was anything brought up within that about it just going to 5 years no matter what for eligibility?
No, that has nothing to do with it.
Okay.
Eligibility is a completely different category that's getting – I mean, look, the NCAA's got litigation all over the place right now. One of those – right because they gave Diego Pavia an extra year.
And a good thing.
Let's see. I mean, he's going to play 6 years of college football.
Right.
Because they did that, they've had people from other places come out and sue him. One of the things that's happening right now, and I can't remember whether it's at like South Carolina or one of the Carolina schools, a young man is suing the NCAA saying you allowed Diego Pavia the ability to go for a 6th year. Now I've got this offer from an NIL collective that's for like $500,000. You're not allowing me to do it. So now I have like monetary damages for you not allowing me to have the same rights as Pavia for whatever your, Byzantine formula came out to create. And so there's real monetary damages surrounding these players now, Jerry and Blake. And I think that the house settlement is strictly about back pay for NIL of previous decade or previous years, and then a look forward at what might new players be enjoined by with a salary cap of sorts, and as well as scholarship limits, and whether they call them, they're trying to get it to where it's phased elimination of scholarships is what the judge wants. That'll be one of the things they talk about next week. But we had Mitt Winter on the other day from the law firm, and he was talking about how really it's down to how do we make it so that middle schoolers that are guys that are in 7th and 8th grade right now aren't living up to this agreement on rev share and everything else 5 years from now, instead of giving these guys exactly what they want in collective bargaining or what they may want in collective bargaining. And I think that's reality. What's
going to be good from this Diego Pavia ruling, and guys, somebody mentioned the Miami tight end getting 9 years, and all this stuff. I've talked to multiple college basketball, football assistant coaches. Every single one of them is fully expecting, and I don't know when it's going to go through, college sports to go to 5 years of eligibility. No more redshirts. You got 5 years. So we don't have to talk about, Jonah Williams appeared in 4 games. He loses redshirt. Won't matter. You're getting 5 years, period. Once your clock starts, that's it. You're done. If you have rough injury history, man, it's part of life. 5 years, and that's it. And everybody I've talked to says this is going to happen. And I don't know if it's going to happen for the 27 class, potentially. But every single coach I've talked to says it's happening, and they all think it's great, by the way. So you can play all 5 years if you're there 5 years. But you know what? Injuries are part of the game, and it sucks, right? But no more of the 6 years, 7 years for college athletes. It could be 5, and you're done, period. You got a clock. and that's it.
Okay, before we get to our last few questions of the day, Bobby, I'm going to let you tell everyone about Vaughn Lane one last time.
Yeah, absolutely. Our travel sponsor, Vaughn Lane. If you're tired of the hassle of flying or driving in Texas, I-35, I-45, I-10, they're all stressful. Long lines, security, stress, cramped seats by flight. Just getting to your destination sometimes feels exhausting. Next time you need to travel between Austin, Dallas, Houston, Fort Worth, San Antonio, skip the stress and ride with Vaughn Lane, your private jet on wheels. Arrive just minutes before departure at one of Vaughn Lane's centrally located luxurious hotel partners. Settle into your spacious reclining seat with tons of legroom and personal space. Enjoy complimentary snacks, drinks, Wi-Fi, and even meals on select departures, all while you sit back and relax. Experience travel the way it should be. Visit VaughnLane.com and use promo code OTF25 for $20 off your first trip. Vaughn Lane, first class travel without the hassle. I think it's just a tremendous idea. Been going now for a long period of time. Those guys do good work over at VaughnLane.com. Give them a shout. I think the biggest thing for me, Jerry, on this is I hate sitting in. I mean, the Austin airport lines right now at TSA are ridiculous. Just ridiculous. So it really does save you time, I think.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, and just the traffic alone now. It's like I went from south side of Houston, Friendswood, up to Westfield High School area last Friday. It took me an hour and 40 minutes at 3 p.m. Hour and 45, 3 p.m. I mean, not that you're going to take Vaughn Lane from there to there, but the traffic itself. And, you know, all you could do, you can't answer questions on the ontexasfootball.com message board or anything. It's so traffic's only going to get worse in the FW, Houston, Austin. Great way to travel.
I've got to say this, Jerry, exactly what we need is Jerry with more gray hair for driving in traffic in Austin, Dallas, Houston. Make Jerry a little bit more, I don't know, persnickety.
I mean,
look, a word for you. A little bit more angry.
82 miles an hour in texting I'm fine with. Sitting in traffic and doing nothing, I'm not fine with.
Yes. Yeah.
Even if I end up in a rollover one day, at least I was working.
Oh, jeez, Jerry. Oh my God. Don't go there, dude.
I'm sitting in traffic covering my red ass.
Here's something else, man.
All right. Well, we got time for just a question or two more here. And let's take this one from Reese Brewer. Who do you think will have a big impact this year that is kind of flying under the radar currently?
Dude, early on, I mentioned Zena Umeozulu. When we first started this morning, that was a guy that was pointed out to me, and they're really happy he's back from the thumb injury. So I would think him. Parker Livingstone's not flying under the radar any longer. You agree with that? I mean, I think we all agree he's no longer under the radar, so he wouldn't really fit that description. Maybe if he's healthy, Brad Spence is flying under the radar a little too much. Is Trey Moore flying under the radar now that he's moved positions and we don't really know what he's got at that position?
Maybe Alex January.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that'd be a good one.
I like that, Johnny, man.
What about Nato Umeozulu too? At left guard.
Had a good spring.
Yeah, he's a little under the radar. You don't know really what you got yet. There's some guys. I'd put Christian Clark in that category too, based on what I've heard. The running back out of Arizona.
For those that may have missed it, Derek said Spence buried on the depth chart. The one thing I want to say is he missed a lot of winter workouts coming off an injury. So I don't know if he's buried on the depth chart as much as they're trying to make sure he's healthy for next year.
That's what they did with Matthew Golden. Don't forget
and that. Jermaine Lole.
Yep. They piecemealed Jermaine. I mean, we were hearing behind the scenes that they were just literally holding him out of entire practices last year at this time, just to let him heal. Maybe that's what they're doing with Travis Shaw.
Yep, I think it is.
Yeah.
I mean, what is he really? I mean, the guy's
there for Lole has been there 6 years. Yeah.
And our last one for today comes from Horn 7. How does the speed on the defense compare to last year's team?
Well, you lost a corner that ran 4.39.
I this is going to sound weird. I think they're going to be faster as a whole.
You think so?
Yeah, because of edge and linebacker. And some of the young defensive backs can really run.
Man, McCooper ran 4.45 too, Jerry.
Yeah.
I will say, I think Jerry's right if you lined them up in a 4x1. Okay? I don't know if they're going to play as fast.
Yeah.
And that, especially in the secondary. I mean, dude, I'm telling you, Makuba and Barron's football IQ. I don't know. I really don't know if there's been two guys with their football IQ simultaneous at Texas.
Yeah.
In it just, I mean, as good as those Akina-led secondaries were back in the 2000s, I don't know if anybody was. They got it. They got it. And so I'm more concerned, not necessarily about speed in the secondary as I am IQ in the secondary next year. And I think the Texas coaches would say the same. Like, they're not so concerned about the athleticism. Everybody, like I was told, whoever's been evaluating defensive backs has done a hell of a job for Texas. Okay. The question is now, can they all play and how they play with one another? So I don't think speed's the issue. I think it's more about football IQ now, getting the right guys on the field. In Jerry's point, I mean, you add Colin Simmons to your team, you're faster. I mean, it's just the reality of life, right?
Yeah.
All right, y'all. Well, that's going to do it for today's episode of Coffee and Football presented by Vaughn Lane. We want to thank Vaughn Lane along with Gooder, Timeline, and Pesty, all for sponsoring today's show. Of course, thank you all for tuning in as well, for the comments, the super chats. Don't forget, we can't get to everything and we can't be on here live 24/7. So be sure to head on over to ontexasfootball.com. Join in on the discussion there. Be a part of the great community that just continues to grow each and every day. And if you're not a member, let me save you a little bit of money. Use promo code OTFOG, and you can sign up for an annual subscription for just $49.95. Again, that's promo code OTFOG to lock in that annual subscription price of just under $50. And Bobby, what do you have later today for everybody right here?
We've got football theory coming up. Rod B and Jeff Howe going to talk about that. But probably the biggest thing, and we also have the winning drive with Coach Shipley a little bit later. But probably the biggest thing is Jerry's right. There's a player availability today at 11 a.m. There is a large chance that it will be Arch Manning's first time talking to the media in Austin. So we'll see what he has to say. Jeff Howe and CJ Vogel will be there for us, and we'll have live reaction based off of that, as well as hopefully some news and notes and some actual video from the press availability as well.
I just want to say, closing on 78,000 subs. Thanks to all you guys, man. We have a lot of fun. And thanks for telling your friends always. And we love all you guys and having a blast, man. Y'all help me get through my my nasal draining. My allergies are crushing me. Bobby's been a little under the weather, but you guys are awesome, man. Thanks for always being here.
For sure. Well, we will be back same time, same place tomorrow. So for Bobby Burton and Jerry Hamilton, I'm Blake Monroe, and we'll see you.